Welcome to Real Estate on Track on ITV Gold, airing every Friday at 8 p.m. with a Sunday repeat at 8 p.m. And trust the expertise of On Track Realty, a name we all want to be associated with since 1994. For real estate questions, you can reach out to them at 732-494-2211. And once again, I have with me two pretty ladies, and that is, as you know, Alka Aneja, and of course, her niece, that is Neetu Aneja. So tell me, guys, how are you doing today?
We're wonderful. We're getting ready for Diwali. Very excited. Wonderful.
It looks like that you are getting ready, and
Yes.
the way you are smiling, both of you look like that, yes, you are doing that. Tell me, we talked about buying, we have talked about selling, we have also talked about residential and commercial properties. So can we talk about rentals today, both residential and commercial?
Absolutely. So rentals has a couple of perspectives, and a lot of for everyone, real estate is the least risky investment if you want to make an investment. So if you want to have a rental property, it's one of the best ways you can make money, right? So wanting to buy a property, you have to remember your rate of return is the most important. It's not about how much you buy it for. It's what are your goals when you're buying an investment property, right? If you think your money invested is better in stocks than it is in a house, because remember, a house rental also comes in with headaches of a tenant. It comes in with its own problems, right? So if you think stocks are going to be your thing and you understand your stock market, I do not understand one thing about the stock market, so I don't know. So if you do understand that, then you invest in stocks. But if you think that, you know what, I want to diversify my portfolio and I want to invest in real estate, then that's what we want to talk about, right? We're going to take two perspectives. One is a landlord perspective, and then one is a tenant's perspective. What you should do as a landlord and what you should do as a tenant. So let's say you have an investment property, and we've spoken about how to accumulate wealth, how to speak about investment property, but now we've already gotten to the point where you have an investment property. What do we do now? So one is you want to make sure that you protect your property from anything that the tenant can damage. So before you put your home on rent, you want to make sure, if you're on a second floor, make sure you have a glass shower door. You don't have a curtain.
Right.
Because if a child does not remember to put the curtain, water is going to flow. There's going to be water on the second floor. It's super important. Like these little things are headaches that you don't want to want to face later on. You have a filter. Make sure you give your tenant 3 or 4 filters and say, here are the filters. I will text you as a reminder. Please change these filters. Believe me, they're not changing them on their own. So you have to do that, right?
Yeah, even as like a landlord, if you get the PCNG like worry-free, you know, to protect the appliances and all that other stuff, if something breaks or gets damaged, it's just a phone call and it's much easier to handle than trying to find a handyman or a contractor to come out and fix things. So having those warranties and stuff in place is also important.
Absolutely. And these things break on Christmas Day, on Diwali Day, on when you have company for Thanksgiving. That's when something's going to break, and then you're going to be scrambling and somebody's going to be charging you an arm and a leg for coming. So if you have PSE&G warranty, then that warranty comes into play for you, right? So that's one thing as a landlord that you can do. If there is make sure all the light bulbs, all the plumbing, everything is fixed before you give it to the tenant. And then make sure you take a video. You take a video of the house and you put it on, and you send that to your tenant saying, this is how the house looked when I gave it to you. And except for ordinary wear and tear, I'm expecting the house back in the same condition. Now you have a security deposit for 1.5 months. The state of New Jersey only allows a maximum 1.5 month security deposit. You cannot take any more than that. But you have that. Now the tenant also knows that this is how I was given the home. This is how I have to give it back. The better shape you give your home in, the better shape you're likely to get it back. So don't think, it's okay, I don't want to do it, it's a rental property. Fix your rental properties, guys. It's important. Make sure that fresh coat of paint is on it. Because if a tenant is okay to live in filth, they're only going to make it worse.
Right.
They're not the best tenant. A picky tenant is your best tenant because they're going to keep your house clean. They're going to call you. Then know that when you sign a lease, your first 30 days is a dance that you do with your landlord, right? It's what are the things that need to be fixed? The landlord says, oh, this is... So there's going to be that period that you're going to get the calls from the tenant while they're adjusting to your house. And don't say, oh my God, this tenant is a pain. It's not a pain. They are inheriting
You know,
your
as
home.
you said that, I have heard it myself, a lot of landlords, talking about the tenants. Oh my God, I just gave it to him and he's a pain now. For every little thing, he's calling me. But I guess, he has to fix it,
It
right?
has to be for 30 days. You need to have that dance with your tenant because the tenant needs to understand what they're getting into, and then everything will be okay. But allow that grace to yourself and don't label the tenant the wrong way. The better your relationship is, the better you'll go. Now, I have an investment property in Jersey City. The first time I saw it was after first 8 years. I hadn't even seen the property. It got rented, new tenants moved in, came out. I went and saw it once, and after that, I had it for 15 years, and I've been there twice.
Mhm.
But it's because we get it painted every 2 times the tenant leaves. Every 3-4 years, it's getting painted. If there's an appliance that breaks, we get it fixed. Like, you need to be on top of that. Remember, every dollar you spend on your investment property is a tax benefit. So if you're going to change your refrigerator there, it's a tax benefit. If you're going to, change your carpeting there, it's a tax benefit. So don't kill the messenger. Fix your stuff. That's okay. Your second thing, and Neetu and I were just talking about this, is when you sign a lease. Neetu, go ahead. you talk to this one.
So when you sign a lease, always do 1 year first. Don't sign anything longer than that, because in that 1 year, if the tenant and your relationship maybe isn't working out, or the tenants aren't exactly what you expected, then you're not bound to them for 2 years. So always make sure you do a 1 year, test it out. And then of course, if they want to extend it, you can always write up another lease for another year after that.
Yeah. And if you're having a tenant where this tenant turns out to be not the bestest tenant that you had expected, right? There's issues. Make sure you start put everything in writing. There should not be phone calls. So even if they send you a text, email them that as per your text today, this is what has happened. You want to have an email chain that in case you need to go for eviction, you have a whole lot of proof before you have to get to eviction. So know that these things are important. These steps are important to become a good landlord. Now, when you take a security deposit that we mentioned before, and I know we mentioned it in the past, but that needs to go into a separate tenant landlord account. It cannot go into your savings account. You will get penalized by the state of New Jersey at 7% interest rate. Whatever money that is, that can only be used for repairs. It cannot be used for anything else. Neither party can withdraw it until the end of the term. And you have to give interest to the tenant. Now, the interest only may be 10 cents, 20 cents, $2. I think I had to give one of my tenants $2. $2, but they have to get that money back. You cannot, it's a W-9 statement. You need to put in a tenant interest-bearing account. So make sure you do that. That's very important. Because if it's a bad tenant, the tenant also knows that you may not have done that, and they're going to take you into court for those things. Now, if there is, make sure you have renter's insurance. Make sure your tenant gets renter's insurance. Extremely important. Because if they do not have renter's insurance, somebody falls, it's your liability. These are things that protect you. Make sure that they're protected.
Also, there's something you can add into the lease to say that we're allowed to once a month come visit the property, with X amount of notice. So we always say when the tenant is living there, sometimes until the problem gets so bad, they don't tell you. And then to fix it, it's so expensive. So if you put that clause in there, you can go check on things. If you see something minor happening, fix it then before it becomes a bigger problem and more expensive.
Yeah, the tenant is paying your mortgage, right? That's what tenancy is about. But they don't own the home.
Right.
So you have to take care of it as your home. You still have to go see it. You still have to look at it. If not once a month, once in 2 months. If not one, you just have to say, you know what, I'm just stopping by. I want to see what the house looks like. Go take a look at your home. It's your investment. Make sure you protect it. Now, this is the landlord viewpoint, right? Mm-hmm. There's a separate tenant's viewpoint. If you're a tenant, you want to make sure you do the same exact thing. Make a video of every single thing that you see that is not right with the apartment and send it to your landlord saying, I don't want to be responsible for this when comes time to the end of my lease.
What happens if the landlord doesn't respond?
It doesn't matter. You have everything in writing.
Okay.
Even if the landlord's not responding, you have everything in writing so that when they take out their security deposit, they have to give you what's called a reason, right? They have to itemize a list of why they're taking out things or what they're taking out money for. And if that crack that you had complained about from the beginning is on that list, now you can take them to small claims court and say, no, this is not right. And I have a chain, I sent it to you. So if you don't have evidence, you're not going to be able to do these things. Make sure you're protected with renter's insurance, because it's not only for the landlord, it's for you. If something gets stolen, you get hurt. Landlord's policy does not cover you. So it's important that you're protecting your family and your jewelry and whatever with all these things. Now, when you were to renew your lease as a tenant, if you renew your lease, please do not accept an email as a renewal. Get a brand new lease, because a lease with an email notification of renewal is not held up in the court of law.
Oh, is that so?
Yes. So I had made that mistake, as I had sent an email to one of my tenants and said, okay, same terms, because it's easy, let's do it. And the tenant in the middle of the lease said, I'm leaving. I said, what are you talking about? We have a lease. I went to my attorney, they said, absolutely not. You do not. It's not enforceable.
Wow.
Your email is not enforceable. So lesson learned, whatever goes wrong in life will teach you a lesson going forward, right? So I learned that lesson, said, wow, I probably advise some of my clients to do it that way. That's not the right way to do it. So you want to make sure that you get a lease that's written so that you're protected. The better your relationship is with your landlord, the better your tenancy is going to be. So if there is a problem that's happening in the house, don't wait until the nth moment to call that landlord, right? Make sure you call that landlord and say, you know what, this is happening, because somebody will tell them, they'll find out, then they'll not want you in for the second year. And a lot of times if you're a good tenant, like for the tenants that don't mind, that are good, when I'm renewing their lease, I don't increase their rent that much, because I'm like, they're such good tenants, like why? I'm not going to increase their rent. But if you're a pain and you want to renew your lease, your rent's getting increased. That's just how it is. So this is a two-way relationship, and make sure that relationship is not something that you take advantage of, right? So there's very mindful things, and you have the right to find out, in talking about your security deposit before, you have the right to find out where is the account, which account number is it associated with. Your landlord should let you know. If they haven't, you have the right to ask them for it. So an informed consumer is our best customer. Know what you're doing, know what your leases are saying, and then go ahead and act in good faith. Because remember, we were talking about before, karma will get you. If you're not a good tenant and you're going to become a bad tenant to your landlord, you're going to get hurt somewhere. It may not be with that landlord, but life keeps accounts, and it's not good accounting.
Yeah.
And the same thing is with the landlord, right? If you're a person who's going to be, no one else is watching. If you're taking advantage of that tenant and the tenant is having a hard time and you think you're going to milk that tenant because you have them at your mercy, someone else is watching you, and it's not the tenant or the landlord, but it's the man upstairs. So be fair in your landlord-tenant relationship, and you'll have the best relationship possible. It's the best thing you can do for you as an investment, but if done well, it's great. If you're a penny pincher, it's the worst thing you can do all around.
And also just make sure that you know if you need to break the lease early, what is the penalty, or how much notice do you need to give? And a lot of people sometimes sign a lease, and when it's time, if they're buying a home, let's say, they don't know actually how, what the penalty is or what's going on. So make sure you kind of have that discussion up front, and you know how your way out is, and if you need to give 2 or 3 months notice, or so that you're informed of, okay, you're ready for what's going to come if you need to leave.
Yeah, and sometimes your landlord will say, okay, why are you asking me that question? You're just starting the lease. Are you thinking of leaving soon, right? So it's a double-edged sword when you ask that question so soon, but maybe 6 months into your thing saying, I'm starting to look, and I just want to know what my reason for leaving is. Because initially, if I have 3 tenants and one tenant asks me this question is, how quickly do I have to leave? I'm not leasing to that tenant, right? Because I'm like, dude, you already have bad intentions. You're asking me to leave. So just know that the questions you ask is making them judge who you are as a person, right? So judge accordingly. But that's a really good question for tenants to know. When you have to know that, it's completely up to you, right? So these are just some of the things that we wanted you to know. If there's any particular questions that you have about your tenant relationship or landlord relationship with your tenant, give us a call, 732-494-2211. We're always here to help you.
And I would say definitely they should. And I think, remember last time or before that, we were even talking about one of the tenants, he's not leaving the
Yes.
apartment. So
Yes.
yes.
And it happens, sadly, it happens more often than not. We are blessed that it doesn't, but it happens a lot. So the more you can do from your side, the better it is for you, for sure.
Alka, let's talk about the featured home listing for this week.
Sure. So our featured home this time is the half a duplex on 23 Rainford Road. And one of the way they came to us, we had sold their condo a few years ago. They said, of course, when we move, we will come to you. Again, our best compliments are when our clients come back to us, because that really truly means that we've done the right thing. So this particular home is a half a duplex. It's got 2 bedrooms and a study and 1.5 bath on the lower floor, and 2 bedrooms and like a sitting area on the upper floor with 1 bath. So it's really good for people who have parents, people who can't take the steps up, because there's 2 bedrooms on the lower floor. So it's got a 1-car garage. Now this particular development, 98% of the homes do not have a basement. So this does not have a basement either. It's $700,000, and it's got a 1-car garage. So come and take a look at it. It's a beautiful home. If you need to see us, call Neetu or me, 732-494-2211. Again, our numbers are scrolling on, below us either.
You know, Alka, since this is the season of giving, I know you have been working big time, doing charity work.
Yes.
So let's talk about your charity.
So, sure. So, I mean, one of the things with Diwali is all about family and making everybody, together. But you have to remember that giving is everywhere. We can see giving no matter, you don't have to have a charity to give. You can make a difference. I mean, when Neetu's Mom Squad does, going out to moms who need it at that time, for that one person, that means the world, right? So it doesn't have to be on a large scale. It's not like Red Cross or whatever. Now, my charity is called Humbled by Your Service, and we do a lot of giving to different sectors. So we have this one girl who's now going through something. Her daughter is in the hospital. She wants to get out of the shelter and go into a nursing school. So we're waiting to connect with her so that we can put her through nursing school. Make a difference to that one person's life instead of giving a whole lot. What happens is, and again, it's nothing against the people who give to March of Dimes or Red Cross or Salvation Army, but 85% of their costs are production costs or executive costs. Very little money goes to the actual charity or the actual cause, because they have so much money that they have to pay to the overhead. Whereas our local people who are going out to help are actually going to the source instead. So whenever you go donate your money, there's 2 things you want to look for: is A, where is it going? B, how quickly is it getting to the source, right? And who's taking that money? Because if it's not going to the source directly, you had a good feeling when you gave the money, but it never really went anywhere.
Exactly.
Because it went to someone's salary who now took a jet and went on vacation somewhere, but it didn't actually go anywhere, right? So just know what you're doing, what you're donating, and where. Look for costs. Like, how does the money get to, and ask questions. So whenever you give to Humbled, I'm part of the accounting. I know where the money's coming from. People text also, and I'll look up. And we don't give cash to anybody. We always either give them something. When we donate to the cows, we give money to the hay company, and then they donate the hay. We never give money because we know money can be misused, right? We want to make sure we're actually taking care of the end consumer. And that's so important in this state of giving. Don't just give to give. When you do it, Neetu I volunteered at a shelter. She's volunteered at a shelter. And it's very nice to think that you're doing it, but when you go there, you don't come out feeling very satisfied a lot of times. Because the things that are happening in the shelters, those people are there again and again, week after week. And you're thinking, why are you here every week? We're in the land of opportunities. You shouldn't be here every week.
Right.
There should be other people doing. So understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then question where your money is going. Because if it's a proper charity, they will allow that question. If you have any questions about Humbled by Your Service, feel free to reach out to me. There's info@Humbled by Your Service. You can chat with us. If you're struggling and you need help, even though you're working and you just can't make ends meet, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you. We don't want to help people who are getting aid from the government because there's way too much aid given already, right? But for someone who is struggling and needs that help, we are absolutely ready to help you until you get to that level where you say, you know what, I want to pay it forward and I want to give it to someone else. Because it's not about us just taking it, it's about how we can help other people as well. So again, we're all in this together. We're all ready to make a difference. Make your difference little at a time and then let it all grow.
So do you do a lot of like clothing drive, especially this is the, winter is here? And
It depends if we have a place where we think it's genuine.
Mhm.
During COVID time, we did it because it was, right? There was a genuine need. Now we don't know where the clothes are going.
Right.
So we don't do it. Unless we meet the person who's doing it, I see where it's going, we will not do any clothing drives like that. We want to focus on helping that one person get into the field work, get into the field and actually take care of their house when they are trying. We want to bridge that gap because that's the gap we're looking to do. Taking clothes and giving it to them when they're throwing them away and saying this is not her size. We were helping a shelter. The list they gave us, Pia, they gave me a lip balm in a list that was $28 for a lip balm.
Wow.
And I said, I don't use a $28 lip. I'm not giving it to you. Sorry. So that's where the shelters have come, right? They have said, okay, we are getting so much stuff because everybody's in such giving moods. Now we want velvet hangers was the ask. Not hangers. It was velvet hangers.
And everything has to have tags on it,
Everything.
which also makes you think like if
Why?
something is why does it have to
Why
be
exactly?
Yeah. So, no, like these things don't just give to give. That's not what your mantra should be. But that's, that's just a little bit of us. And happy Diwali to those who do continue to give. It's a great feeling. Enjoy it. Just think about it. Pause a second to know where the money is going. If there's any questions for us, we're happy to help. Neetu has a mom squad. I have Humbled by Your Service. Ours is not a charity, but it helps moms in getting out. And, mental illness, loneliness, all these things are the biggest leeches of society that we have right now. And if we can help, why not help those young moms who need it?
Yeah, and I mean, within the group, amongst each other, people will say, "Does anyone have clothing from whatever size or whatever?" And one mom has a baby and just had twins, and they were struggling a little bit because it's a lot of work and a lot of stuff. So within the group, people will give things to each other and help out. So it's not like a big thing, but helping a few people at a time.
So Neetu, do you encourage people, especially the moms, to join your group?
Yeah. So I post about it frequently on social media. So then I try and get more people to join. And a lot of people are looking for it. They ask, is there a mom group? Because it's very hard to make mom friends. And it's just like Alkubu said, just that emotional support is huge. Kind of, you just need that. You need to know people are going through it with you.
Yeah, and there's a story, and we'll end it with this story. There was a boy that was throwing a fish back in the ocean. As the fish would come up for shore, he would throw the fish back. So this guy kept watching him for a little while, and then he said, what are you doing? And he said, whenever this fish comes, I'm throwing it back. And he said, but you're not going to stand here all that day. How much difference are you going to make? And he said, for that one fish, I'm making a lot of difference. And that's all that matters. It's one at a time. And that's all we can do here. With that, we'll say thank you and wishing everyone a wonderful Diwali.
Happy Diwali and thank you so much.
Absolutely.